Hi, everybody. Welcome to Embracing Aging. Tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about death and dying. It's become a bit of a taboo subject in the West, really. That it's not something that we talk about an awful lot. Even we don't even talk about our own death and what's going to happen when we die. But also about the death of relatives and people close to us. Just generally, we don't have the same experience of death as perhaps my grandma would have had. Like years ago, I know my grandma would be called over. She was kind of the neighbourhood, the go-to person for when somebody passed away. They would call my grandma, and she would go and lay them out. And they used to do things like put pennies on the eyes. And I'm sure that in some cultures they still do that. But that's what my grandma would do, and in those days, it was just accepted as part of the process of living. So we're going to die. We're all going to die. Everything that's alive dies. Plants die. Animals die. We all going to. Our life's going to end at some point. But we don't really talk about it. We're not prepared for it because the advances in medication and surgery and what have you, that kind of wisdom that we had about talking about death, facing death, understanding death and the process of death, it's kind of been lost to us because kind of when people are sick now, especially, as they get older towards the end of their lives, they kind of, we call the ambulance, paramedics come, they're whisked off to hospital. Sometimes they die in intensive care. It's not the same kind of process as it was, say, maybe 80 years ago or so. We've kind of lost that wisdom about dealing with dying people. And I've been following a lady called Dr. Kathryn Mannix, and she was a palliative care consultant. And she has got videos on YouTube, and I'm going to put one in the playlist for you to look at if you're interested. But I just think that, I think that we need to realise and accept that people aren't going to live forever. There is going to come a time when they're going to die, and we need to recognise those signs when people are dying and not kind of hope that they're going to carry on forever. Like when my dad was at the end of his life, he was diagnosed with mesothelioma, and he went down pretty quickly after diagnosis. He only survived 2 months. And the reason I'm telling you that is because during that time, my dad was subjected to all sorts of indignities, really, going to hospital in which was really uncomfortable for him because he was, he was really basically skin and bones. There was not much left on him. And going in a wheelchair, going in an ambulance was really uncomfortable for him. He was incontinent then, and just it was a real indignity for my dad. And yet he had to go through the process because that's the way we kind of do things now. We can't say, I don't want my dad to be treated. We don't have that option. But I think my dad would have preferred not to have, gone through all of those things, like having scans and possibility of chest drainage and things that would be so traumatic for him to have to go through that. And I think that, just these are only my personal views, and I'm no expert in any of this, but I've just seen how I feel and how the experience of watching my dad die. He could have enjoyed those last couple of months more without having that discomfort and indignity of having to go backwards and forward to hospital, having blood tests. They couldn't find his veins and he's covered in bruises and he was tired, and actually when he did die, it was quite a peaceful process. My sister and I were at his bedside for probably the best part of a week, day and night we were there. He was in a care home, and they looked after him really well. And But I can remember distinctly my dad, towards the very end, he would start reaching up, and I'm sure that he was looking beyond us and looking up. And I'm absolutely sure, I have no doubt in my mind, that my dad knew he was dying, and I'm sure that they were his ancestors or his family or people who'd gone before him who were calling him, or his guardian angel, whatever you want to call it. That was just, my personal opinion. And my dad wasn't looking at us. He was looking beyond us at something else that he could, absolutely convinced he could see something else. So I just wanted to share that with you, really. And just to say that, if you're looking after someone who's, approaching the end of their life, it is a natural process, and it isn't awful. You hear things about the death rattle and things like that. Which is, Kathryn Mannix explains it beautifully if you want to have a look at some of her videos. They're quite short, but have a look on, it's Kathryn with a K, Kathryn, and her surname's Mannix, Mannix. And she's also written a book, which I've got here. It's called With the End in Mind. I bet you that's the wrong way around, but it is called The End in Mind. It's how to live and die well. Okay. And it says it's essential reading for anyone who will encounter death, and that means all of us. So I don't mean this to be a morbid video. It's just that, death is an important part of something we're going to encounter more and more, bereavement, as we're aging. So are our family and our friends and colleagues, what have you. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. So thank you for joining me. I won't be doing a video tomorrow. I've got other commitments, so probably I will post something again on Friday. So thank you for joining me, and thank you so much for your comments. Please, if there's anything you want to talk about, please put it in the comments, because I'm just going with, things that happen to me, from day to day. Like, the reason I'm thinking about death and dying is because I heard news of someone who'd passed away a couple of days ago, and she was younger than me, and it's kind of, it makes you kind of think about your own mortality, and that's why I wanted to post this. So yeah, I'll be if you've got anything that you want me to talk about, just drop something in the comments below, and if you don't mind, please press the like button and share and subscribe. And thank you as always for joining me. I'm very grateful for you, for your support. So I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.